Today I'm going to show really quickly how I would draw an eye. So follow along. To start with a outer shape, and I drew mine really lightly so I could talk while I explained. So it's like an almond, and I'm just darkening my shape. So you start with the outer shape and you want to start pretty, what I would say sketchy. And you need to remember that the eye is like a circle inside, has the folds of skin around it. So you want to have some of these creases. This is like the eyelash or eyelid crease. And then around your eye, you have a couple different parts. So this is basically the tear duct going around the eye, and it doesn't necessarily have to be super pronounced, especially if you're doing a smaller eye, but this is a fairly large eye, just so you can learn basic shape. So this here is the iris. It's a circle, and usually you don't see the complete circle. Your lid comes and cuts across the iris, and it kind of leaves it a little bit abbreviated, a little bit like almost the full circle. Okay. So you start light, and as you continue, you're gonna get darker. So the first thing that you want to notice is that after you have your circle inside your almond, and you also create this small tear duct, you need to remember a couple things. One, this is the cornea or the white of the eye, and it's not actually going to stay completely white. So I suggest giving it just a little bit of shading along both corners. And what that does is that makes the eye have an illusion that it is more round. Because when the light reflects this part, the light is not getting as much light on the sides, right? Okay, and then in the center we have this is the pupil, and the pupil of the eye is going to be dark, but many times there's a reflection, and I'm going to put my reflection on the right side. So I'm going to fill in with this light pencil. First, my pupil might be a little too small, so I'm just going to increase the size slightly. I used a picture reference, and it's actually a drawing, so it's not completely super realistic looking. Okay, but whenever you're drawing, you need to remember that you want to start light and keep working your way dark. And one thing that's helpful is if you work in smaller areas. So first, I'm just darkening the outer edges of the iris. So the iris is the colored part of the eye, and you should look at one of your friend's eyes, see what the color is. It's usually darker around the rim, and even though there are sometimes little streaks, you don't want to have too many little streaks, otherwise it looks very unrealistic. So you actually want to have just a little bit of shading, maybe take it a little lighter than that outer edge. I'm using my egg shapes to just get a base shading, and I might actually need to sharpen my pencil more. It's helpful. Or switch to an HB. And if you don't have art materials at home, just use your number 2 pencils. Use computer paper. They'll still work, and you can look up how to draw different things. You can pick some objects around the house to draw. You could draw take turns and set a timer and draw your sister or brother, and that might be funny. Okay, so we have just initially the iris, pupil, the very, very light cornea. Now I'm just gonna start adding a couple details. So your eye along where the tear duct is, it's gonna have actual tear duct, and right here alongside that it gets a little darker. It's where the cornea starts. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of a dark shading there. I'm gonna bring my crease of the eye, make that a little bit more dark. And then at the top of the eye where the eyelid meets the this iris, it's actually pretty dark. And instead of doing a bunch of tiny little eyelashes, you don't need to do too many eyelashes. You can just do like a body of shading in the top, and then you want to go straight up from the center, go to the right, slightly curve this way, right? Maybe bring up a little bit more shading so they look unified. And you don't want to do too many of them. And then you're going to go lightly on the opposite side. Go curve towards the left. Okay. Other things you can do is remember that the eye is in a, like almost like a little cavity. So if your nose is over here, you have your eyebrow above it. So just remembering, you may have to work from a photo and slowly, and you can add shading and remember that that is going to be nice and dark in that cavity. So you can go ahead and add some streaks going outward around the iris, darken that outside shape. I needed to smooth in my circle, and if you need to trace the circle for your eye, you could draw the circle of your iris first and then draw this outer shape, and that actually can really help make it look nice as well. So my version is not the perfect version. I was just hopping on and showing you how to get started. So then you would add some shading all around here, and that would really help the actual eye to look like it has some depth to it. Okay. The bottom lashes, sometimes it looks creepy to do that, so I wasn't gonna originally do that. I'm actually looking at one of the eyes that I sent you guys. It's just this example here, and it's just a simple drawing. You can tell that the different eyelashes are curving the different directions. There are some eyelashes down here, good amount of shading above the eye to create the illusion of the cavity, and yes, it has a great tear duct. This is a great image of the side view, so you can see that side cavity in the eye with the lid over it, and that sometimes helps people understand the eye shape a little bit better. So if you want, you can download the sheets I gave you. It has all of these images on it, and you can practice. So I hope this was helpful. Happy drawing!